So we're continuing working with exponents, and today we're talking about squares and cubes, hence square and cube. The first one I leave to you because you're supposed to remember your squares from 1 to 14. Now write down the cubes. Cubes is something cubed. So for example, 1 cubed is 1 times 1 times 1 equals 1. 2 cubed is 4 times 2, which is 8. 3 cubed is 27. 4 cubed is 64 because it's 16 times 4. 5 cubed is 25 times 5, 125. And then 6 cubed, remember 6 squared is 36, and one more time times 6. That's 180 plus 36, which is 216. So these are your cubes. And life requires actually, you remember them. So 1 cubed is 1, 2 cubed is 8, 3 cubed 27, 4 cubed 64, 5 cubed 125, 6 cubed 216. Find the area and the square with a side that is measuring 5 inches. So for example, if this is my square with 5 inches for each side, the area of the square is going to be one side times the other. That will be 5 squared. So it's going to be 25, and it's going to be square inches, or inches squared. Now the volume of a cube sort of should remind you that a cube is something multiplied by itself 3 times. So the volume of a cube is width times length times height. And since it's a cube, they're all the same. So you can say like width cubed or whatever, one side, or the edge, actually it's called the edge cubed. So if it's 4 centimeters, 4 cubed is 64. And centimeters cubed are centimeters cubed. On the number line below, mark the following: square root of 16, square root of 36, and square root of 81. So what you should remember is when you multiply two positive numbers by each other, I will get a positive number. But the same thing will happen if I multiply two numbers that are both negative. So negative 4 times negative 4 is also 16. So when you were figuring out the square of 16, your answer could be 4, but it can also be negative 4. Square root of 36 could be 6, and it could be negative 6. Square root of 81 could be 9 and negative 9. Now we're on to cubes. Notice that when we just write the radical, we usually mean that that's the square root. But we could technically put 2 over here. So when you see something like this, that means that this is a cubed root, or a cubic root. Cubic root, interesting. So we need to get the root of 8. 8 is a positive number. Negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 would be negative 8. The solution for this is only 2. Cubed root of negative 27 would be negative 3. Cubed root of 125 can be only positive 5. And finally, negative cubed root of 216 is negative 6. There you go. Now these guys, if you watched the previous video, this should be easy, hopefully. So when I have an exponent that is a fraction, that tells me that this is going to be a radical. I'm looking at the denominator, so that's going to be a square root of 2 to the first power. So it's basically this. This one would be, you're looking again at your denominator, square root. But then what goes under the square root is 2 to the third power. This is probably the hardest one because you need to think of two things. It's a square root of 2 because it's 1/2, but it is also a negative 1/2, so it has to be 1 over the square root of 2. Another way you can think of this, since this is 2 to the negative 1/2, I can say this is 1 over 2 to 1/2, which is 1 over, and 2 to the 1/2 is square root of 2. The last one's a little bit of algebra. So x squared, we already know that could be 2. It could be plus 3 and minus 3. So the way you write this is plus minus 3. Here you have to make an extra step. X squared would be 100 divided by 4, would be 25. And then since it's a square and 25 is a positive number, there are two possible answers, plus and minus 5, so you write down plus minus 5. 4x cubed equals negative 32. So notice I will divide by 4 and I will get a negative number. So x cubed is negative 8. Then x is going to be negative 2. And the last one, 3 steps. 4x squared. I throw 5 over here, it becomes negative 5. 41 minus 5 is 36. My next step, I have to get my x squared by itself. So that's going to be 36 over 4, which is 9. And the last step, since this is a square root, I have two possible answers. It could be plus or minus 3. So that's it.